Hi, my name is Lester Quinones, and this is my informative speech. My topic will be police brutality, and I chose this because not all the hype that it's been getting, especially in today's society, in 2020, with everything that's going on with police officers and shootings, deaths, excessive force, all this stuff going on around social media and all these platforms where people have just been bashing police officers and everything. That's not really the main reason I chose it. The main reason I actually chose it is because I actually had a personal incident with the police department when I was about 2008. When 7 years old. When I was about 7 years old, I actually had a family member who was involved with a police brutality incident. His name is Kenny Lazo, and he was pulled over for going 8 miles per hour over the speed limit. Pulled out of his car, arrested, and they took him to the 3rd precinct, which is the precinct that's about 3 minutes away from my house. And they had beat him, stripped him naked, beat him with flashlights, cut his tongue out, and just left him there on the floor at the precinct just to sit there and die, where he was pronounced dead later on the way to the hospital. And it all just started there with me being so young at a young age, already being involved with, I wouldn't say not liking the cops, but just seeing the bad side of it as far as me being part of the protests. I'm a young kid, 7, 8, 9 years old, already going on marches and protests against the police in the precinct where I'm from. And it kind of just started there with me just building it and trying to make a change there and using my name and my image to just not stop it, because I know obviously it's not going to end, but just try to make change to it. And police brutality has been going on for decades, and it's been a problem with society, causing conflict with Americans and the police department. The numbers have only been increasing and getting worse. What stands out most, though, in every single study and statistic that I have looked up, is that a majority of the cases and deaths involved with police brutality have been in the minority community, which is Black, Hispanics, and all those races just outside of white. And as of October 4th, 2020, there have only been 14 days this year where the police have not killed someone. 14 days. And of these killings, Black people have been 28% of those killed by police. And 28% may not sound like a lot, but 28% of those who were killed by police, that's despite only being 13% of the population. So that's just a ridiculous number. And although half of the people shot by police are white, Black Americans are shot at a disproportionate rate. Black Americans account for less than 13% of U.S. population and are killed by police more than twice. So they're doubling the rate of white Americans, basically. And not only are Black Americans killed by police at a disproportionate rate, but that includes Hispanic Americans as well, which goes back to me saying the minority community. And not only have Black people been the majority of killings, but Black Americans are 1.3 times more likely to be unarmed when their lives have been taken by police officers compared to white people. Now, with everything going on and just the fact that these people being killed are unarmed and police officers are trying to plant evidence or frame people and add things to it to just make it look like they weren't the bad guys, it's kind of what stands out to me. But not only that, where you live matters as well. In the cities and states that are more southern and more Midwest, they have higher rates of people and police departments killing Black men. 8 of the 100 largest city police departments kill Black men at a higher rate than the U.S. murder rate. So police have been killing Black people at a higher rate than the U.S. murder rate as a whole. Now, there's a journalist who I had looked up, and he studies and does research with examining police brutality cases. And he kind of just looked up all the cases between 1990 and 2000, and his research found that gender and elections are significant factors in structuring judicial behavior. With that being said, There is no accountability when it comes to officers being penalized for these crimes of killing these innocent people. Now, I wouldn't say all of them are innocent, but a majority of them, I feel like if someone's unarmed, you shouldn't use excessive force or honestly just take someone's life for that. And 98.3% of the killings by police from 2013 to 2020 have not resulted in officers being charged with the crime. Now, this goes to me using an analogy of you must pay. Not you must pay, but if you do something, you have to have a consequence that follows it. If a police officer goes out and shoots and kills 5 African Americans and they just get off like it's nothing happens, I feel like honestly they could just go back out there and just do it again. If they just get a suspension or just leave with pay and things like that, I feel like that's just not going to help solve the problem that's going on today. And I feel like it kind of just makes it worse, because then it makes people like myself and everyone else in the black community and the minority community just have a bigger flame built up inside, just seeing that these people have been doing these things for years and they just have no consequences following their actions. Now, going back a few decades, a journalist investigates trends in police brutality using data found through the LexisNexis system using the keywords police brutality. And he found that the minority citizens were involved in the vast majority of the incidents that occurred between January 1990 and May 31st, 1992. A majority of these victims that were involved in the police brutality crimes have been males. An overwhelming majority of people shot and killed by police are actually males. Over 95% and more than half of the victims that are between 20 and 40 years old. Of the victims by gender, 5,448 males have been killed, while only 252 females have been killed by police. So I would say that the males are honestly more, I wouldn't say targeted, but the males definitely are just, their numbers are just skyrocketing compared to female deaths involving police brutality cases. So I feel like gender does play a role in it, with males being a bigger target. Not only has police brutality changed the way society today looks at police officers, but the amount of people scared or feared for their life by police officers have increased. And I'm gonna just be honest, I myself, I wouldn't say I fear them, but with everything going on with myself being a Hispanic and African American young male, I just feel like I do not feel comfortable around an officer, or if I was driving and to see an officer just trailing behind me or just walking and seeing an officer looking at me, I just don't feel comfortable myself being a part of the minority group in today's society, and I just don't feel like they're protecting me with everything that's going on. Now, a Wall Street Journal NBC News poll asked voters whether they were more troubled by the actions of police or if they were more troubled by the death of George Floyd or by the protests that had turned violent. And of those 3 options, by more than a 2-to-1 margin, almost every person in the poll said that they were more troubled by the actions by the police and feared the police more than riots and protesters and the death of George Floyd. So that statistic right there just goes back to what I was saying earlier about me just fearing police officers and not just being comfortable with them. These statistics stand out because this was not how our society reacted to the riots in 1968 when they swung to Richard Nixon's law and order message, or to the 1992 riots in Los Angeles following the Rodney King incident. I feel like people feared the riots more and feared Nixon's law and order message back then more than they fear the police. And today, in today's society, I feel like the police are way more feared by everybody and way more feared by the Black and Hispanic community coming up. The Black Lives Matter movement was founded in 2013 and has been a vocal part of the movement against police brutality in the U.S. by organizing marches, protests, and demonstrations in response to the killings of Black men and women by police. Black Lives Matter has been a huge deal, especially in 2020, with everybody on social media, on the news, just major media outlets just really emphasizing Black Lives Matter, just going from the NBA having Black Lives Matter on their court to Amazon and Jeff Bezos coming up with stuff like Black Lives Matter just being on the home screen of Amazon, which is probably the most used thing in the world. And that just goes to show you that people are just fed up and tired of it and want to see change now. This has been going on for decades, and we're just tired and fed up with it. And honestly, me, like I said, as an African American and Hispanic, I'm a part of both communities. I feel like police brutality has really been an issue, and it's just only getting worse. And I just hope and pray every single day that one day this will end, and one day just we could just be comfortable and just go back to police protecting and serving and saving our lives rather than taking our lives.